he's going to talk about managing conflict in open source communities. But of course, it's open source, so we never have any conflict. We all just get along. It's a difficult topic. Anytime there was a presentation at a recent conference I went to, which was titled something like "Software is easy, people are hard," and this is something that we all get wrong at least once. So, what did you learn? What can you teach us?
Well, I think I'm still learning myself, right? I'm very involved with the Drupal project, and so we have a community working group. We're chartered to do a few different things. One of them is uphold our code of conduct. The other is to actually help step in and mediate conflict between people in the community. And it is interesting, right? I mean, one of the things that actually makes open source so great is that we're, engaging with all of these other people all the time. And if handled well, conflict can actually be a good thing, right? A disagreement between two people can lead to kind of new ideas. It can challenge some sort of existing assumptions. But the key is that you need to be respectful of the other people you're working with, right? We're all involved in whatever project we're involved in, toward a common goal, right? We're trying to build something great together. And if we're talking past each other, or if we're just butting heads all the time and not actually finding common ground, then we're not going to be able to do that. So it's helpful sometimes because just to have some tools, some resources, some people you can talk to kind of help resolve some of these issues when they get, sort of intractable.
I've been doing open source for a few years, and I always feel like I'm making it up as I go along. So take this question the right way. Yeah. Do you have any training in this? Do you know what you're doing?
So, so in terms of my own personal background and experience, I've been running a company for over 20 years. We've been involved with open source, for more than a decade. I do have, some kind of community leadership background and experience there. But a lot of it is also things like nonviolent communication and active listening. Just some basic tools to kind of help make sure that you're hearing what someone else is saying and really trying to find the nugget of what it is that they're getting to. So, and all of us who are part of the community working group at Drupal, we come in with our own different backgrounds and experiences, right? We have someone in our group who spent a lot of time working with youth in the Middle East, right? And he actually says that it's sometimes easier to get those folks talking with each other than it is with dealing with some of the issues we face. But and different situations require different approaches. So I think the answer to your question is yes, sort of, and and yes, we are also sort of discovering and learning as we go along, right? But that's really the key is you bring the tools that you have, and you also recognize that maybe you're not using the right tool in this particular situation, or maybe there's something that's missing from the tool set. And, and that's when you go out and, we have a situation right now that we're working with that involves a language barrier. So we found somebody who's, going to come in who can help basically translate and make sure that all parties in that situation are being well understood.
If you were to give us, your top couple tips for dealing with conflict in normally friendly communities, not knock-down, drag-out stuff, but...
Well, one thing, of course, is make sure that you are thinking about it and that you do have a process, right? When projects start out and they're very small and everyone kind of knows each other, it's very easy to just sort of assume that everyone is on the same page. But that's not always true, and particularly as your project grows and scales, you need to put some infrastructure, you need to put some process, you need to put some resources around making sure that people are on the same page, or if they're not on the same page, that there is a way to resolve those differences, right? And so I'll be talking a little bit about, in the presentation, a little bit about sort of what the nature of conflict is, getting into some of the unmet needs that people find in open source. We'll be talking a little bit about, different ways that different communities approach codes of conduct and enforcement of codes of conduct, and a little bit about some of the lessons just that we've learned, both positive and negative from, working on different kinds of issues for so many years. And then at the end, we'll have a few kind of tips and tricks for communities to help improve communication and, see where, see how we can all work better together.
What do you do when it fails? What do you do when this breaks down? How do you kick people out? I mean, code of conduct is great, but without enforcement, it's meaningless.
Yes, that's actually one of my slides, yes.
So what do you do?
Yeah, sometimes, and I think it's important to separate, something that's an honest disagreement between someone who is, so frustrated and so upset, and that they just, they can't, there's no way for them to engage in the community anymore in a way that's positive and productive. And I think, again, it's really important to make sure you have a really honest discussion with that person. Help them understand the impact that their behavior is having on others. And as much as possible, we try to, give them the option to choose how they want to exit. But if they don't want to exit, then, at a certain point, it's not a choice, right? And, and again, it all depends on the reasons, right? And every situation is different. But yeah, you can't be afraid to kick people out of your community if you have to, because in some cases, if they stay, there may be disruption caused by kicking out a prominent contributor, but it's going to be worse if that person stays and continues to cause damage within the community.
Well, thank you for those thoughts, and good luck in your presentation later. It seems obvious when you say we should have a plan, but of course, so few of us actually do, so that's an important tip. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and it's not just about having a plan, but it's also having a plan that's flexible, right? Every situation is different. But thank you again so much. Wonderful to be here and having a lot of fun with this event.